Beneath the island of Okinawa lies one of the most horrifying secrets of World War II. When American soldiers finally entered the hidden tunnels, what they uncovered defied imagination. Underground hospitals where the wounded begged for death. Civilians who never escaped the darkness in chambers where entire families chose suicide over surrender. These were not just caves, they were tombs carved into the earth. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why the discoveries made here still haunt history. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe for more World War II stories that reveal the darkest truths buried by time. May 21st, 1945, just south of Shuri, Okinawa. The rain hasn't stopped for 3 days. It turns the jagged coral landscape into a sea of reddish-brown mud that sucks at the boots of Private First Class Frank Mercer. U.S. Army, 77th Infantry Division. The air is thick with the sweet, sickening smell of cordite and death, a stench that clings to the back of the throat. Up ahead, through the mist and unrelenting drizzle, is what's left of a hill the maps call Sugarloaf. To Mercer, it looks like hell scraped raw. For weeks, they've been fighting for every inch of this god-forsaken island, battling an enemy who seems to melt into the very ground. A shell screams overhead, one of theirs. A big 155mm round from the artillery offshore. It impacts the ridge with a deafening crump, sending a geyser of mud and splintered rock into the gray sky. Mercer flinches, hunkering down in the slick trench. He's 19 years old, but his eyes carry the ancient, hollowed-out look of a man who has seen too much. They all have it. They ain't in the open, Mercer, grunts Sergeant Collier, his voice a low, gravelly rumble next to him. Collier spits a stream of tobacco juice into the mud. They're in the rock, like termites. He's right. The Japanese defenses on Okinawa are unlike anything they've faced before. This isn't about taking a beach or a pillbox. It's a war against the island itself. General Mitsuru Ushijima, commander of the Japanese 32nd Army, has turned southern Okinawa into a fortress. Instead of meeting the Americans on the beaches, he has pulled his forces inland, digging them into the limestone hills and creating a labyrinth of interconnected tunnels, caves, and command posts. This is a strategy of attrition, designed to bleed the American forces white. Every ridge, every draw, every seemingly insignificant rise in the terrain is part of a deliberate, interlocking defense system. From these subterranean positions, Japanese soldiers can lay down withering fields of machine gun and mortar fire, then vanish before American artillery can find them. When a position is overrun, they don't retreat, they simply fall back to another hidden entrance, ready to fight from a new angle. The Americans are not fighting an army, they are fighting a ghost that lives under their feet. Suddenly, a crackle of rifle fire erupts from a cluster of rocks 50 yards ahead, impossibly close. A barman in Mercer's squad cries out and slumps forward, his helmet clattering against the coral. "Get down!" Collier bellows, but everyone is already as low as they can get. Where's it coming from? They scan the ridge, but there's nothing. Just shattered trees, mud and rock, no muzzle flashes, no movement. It's as if the bullets are coming from the earth itself. This is the horror of the Shuri line. You can't see the enemy, but he can always see you. A new sound joins the fray, a sharp, metallic thump, thump, thump. A Japanese Type 92 heavy machine gun. Its rounds chew up the ground around their position, pinning them down. They are caught in a perfectly designed kill zone. A corporal from the flamethrower team crawls over to Collier, his face pale beneath a layer of grime. "Sarge, we gotta do something. We're sitting ducks." Collier nods, his jaw tight. He points to a shadowed crevice at the base of the hill, nearly invisible against the dark rock. "There. See it? Looks like a cave mouth. That's where they are." Mercer squints, his heart pounding against his ribs. He sees it now, a small, dark opening, no bigger than a manhole, camouflaged with netting and dead foliage. It's from this unassuming hole that an entire platoon is being systematically torn apart. An order is passed down the line, a grim, whispered command. They're going to assault the entrance. The flamethrower team will go first, followed by riflemen with grenades. Mercer checks his M1 Garand, his hands shaking slightly. He's seen what happens when you get close to these positions. He's seen men vanish into those dark holes, their screams swallowed by the earth, He looks at the other faces in the trench boys from Ohio, Texas, and New York, all aged beyond their years. They share the same look of dread and resignation. They know that what they're about to do is less of a tactical maneuver and more of a descent into a tomb. The thought is unnerving. The real battle for Okinawa isn't on the surface, it's underneath, and they are about to go in. Section 2. The fiery descent collier gives the signal, a sharp downward chop of his hand. Instantly, the world erupts in a cacophony of covering fire. The surviving barman lays down a heavy, thumping rhythm of .30 caliber rounds, chewing up the rock face around the hidden opening. Two riflemen join in, the sharp crack ping of their M1s adding to the din. It's the signal for the flamethrower operator, a lanky private named O'Rourke, to move. Burdened by the 70 pounds of steel tanks and pressurized napalm on his back, O'Rourke rises from the mud in a half-crouch and lumbers forward. He moves with a terrible, slow deliberation, a walking bomb in the middle of a shooting gallery. Mercer and two other riflemen, their designated guards, follow close behind, firing blindly toward the dark hole, their eyes scanning for any sign of a Japanese counterattack. The 50 yards of open ground feel like a mile. Mud splashes their legs, and the air is alive with the hornet-like buzz of enemy rounds snapping past their heads. O'Rourke reaches the crevice. He braces himself, feet planted wide, and raises the nozzle of the M2 flamethrower. For a heart-stopping second, nothing happens. Then he pulls the trigger. A guttural roar tears through the air as a torrent of liquid fire, a blazing orange-black serpent, shoots from the nozzle and plunges into the darkness. The jet of flame streams for a full 8 seconds, seeming to light up the very sky. The sound is monstrous, a hungry, consuming furnace. Mercer can feel the searing heat on his face even from 10 yards away. A horrific, high-pitched shriek, abruptly cut short, rises from the tunnel entrance, barely audible over the roar of the weapon. Then silence. O'Rourke cuts the flame, and the sudden quiet is more jarring than the noise. A thick, greasy black smoke, smelling of gasoline and something else, something foul and organic, billows out from the opening. "Move up! Move up!" Collier shouts, his voice already hoarse. "Mercer, you're on point!" Mercer's throat is dry. He gives a jerky nod, his knuckles white where he grips his rifle. He approaches the entrance cautiously, the ground blackened and smoking. The rock around the opening is scorched, still radiating an intense heat. He peers into the abyss. The smoke is so thick he can't see more than a foot inside. He clicks on the flashlight mounted beneath his rifle barrel, its beam cutting a weak, hazy cone into the gloom. "Going in," he says, his own voice sounding distant. He takes a step, crossing the threshold from the rainy gray world into a subterranean hell. The air inside is suffocating, a cocktail of smoke, damp earth, and roasted flesh. It's hard to breathe. The tunnel is narrow, just wide enough for one man to pass comfortably. The walls are not natural limestone, but have been crudely carved by hand, the pickaxe marks still visible in the rock. Dripping water sizzles on the hot ground. Collier is right behind him, followed by 3 other soldiers. Their world shrinks to the bouncing beams of their flashlights. 10 feet in, Mercer's light falls upon the source of the shriek. The charred, unrecognizable forms of 2 Japanese soldiers are fused to the remains of a Type 92 machine gun. Their bodies are little more than blackened statues, frozen in their final agonized moments. The sight turns Mercer's stomach, but there is no time for revulsion. He has to keep moving. They press deeper. The smoke begins to thin, and the tunnel floor slopes gently downwards. This isn't just a machine gun nest, it's an artery. The main passage continues for another 20 feet before coming to a junction. One tunnel veers off to the left, another to the right. Both are swallowed by an impenetrable darkness beyond the reach of their lights. This was a communications trench, a main thoroughfare for troops to move unseen and protected from the constant American bombardment. They had just breached the skin of the beast. Collier holds up a fist, signaling for a halt. The only sounds are their own ragged breathing and the steady drip, drip, drip of water somewhere in the blackness ahead. The silence is heavy, watchful. It feels like they are being observed from 100 unseen eyes. They are in the enemy's world now, a world of shadows and close-quarter combat, where a bayonet or a grenade in the dark is more deadly than a line of artillery. Then, from the impenetrable blackness of the left-hand passage, came a sound, a faint, rhythmic scraping. Scrape. Pause. Scrape. Someone or something was digging or waiting. The child's whimper hangs in the fetid air, thin and sharp, cutting through the low groans of the dying soldiers. For a moment, every American in the chamber freezes. It is a sound so profoundly out of place in this landscape of violence that it seems to bend reality. It is a sound of pure, innocent terror, and it does what weeks of brutal combat could not. It shatters their soldiers' composure. Mercer's flashlight beam, which had been methodically sweeping over the wounded, now jerks towards the back of the cavern. It lands on a small alcove, barely a depression in the rock wall. Huddled there, behind a mound of discarded rice sacks, are not more soldiers, but civilians. An old woman, her face a mask of deeply etched wrinkles, stares back with wide, terrified eyes. Beside her, a younger woman, perhaps her daughter, clutches a small child, no more than 4 or 5 years old, burying its face in the folds of her tattered kimono. It is the child who is whimpering, a continuous, breathless sound of fear. Collier lets out a low curse, a mixture of shock and frustration. What in God's name? This changes everything. They were prepared for soldiers. They were prepared for traps, for ambushes, for last-ditch banzai charges in the dark. They were not prepared for families. The Japanese propaganda machine had relentlessly drilled into the Okinawan populace that the Americans were foreign devils, that capture meant torture and a gruesome death. These people were not hiding with the soldiers for protection. They were trapped with them, caught between an enemy they had been taught to fear and an army that viewed them as its sacred duty to defend. The Japanese medical officer, seeing where their attention has shifted, takes a shuffling step forward, his hands still raised in surrender. He speaks, his voice a dry, cracking whisper. The words are Japanese, incomprehensible, but his tone is one of pleading. He gestures from the Americans to the civilians, then shakes his head desperately. He isn't begging for his own life, he's begging for theirs. "Stay sharp," Collier growls, his instincts overriding the shock. He knows this could be a trick, a bomb hidden in a bundle of rags, a soldier pretending to be a civilian. In this war, compassion is a luxury that can get you killed. "Check the rest of the room. Mercer, you're with me." Leaving 2 men to watch the entrance and the surrendering officer, Collier and Mercer begin a slow, careful sweep of the cavern's perimeter. They move past the rows of wounded, the stench of death and disease growing stronger with every step. The Japanese soldiers who are still conscious watch them with a mixture of hatred and utter exhaustion. There is no fight left in them, only a slow, painful surrender to the inevitable. As they near the back wall where the civilians are huddled, Mercer's light catches the edge of a canvas sheet, tacked crudely over another opening in the rock. It's much smaller than the tunnel they entered through, barely a crawl space. It's almost perfectly concealed in the deep shadow. It would have been easy to miss. And from behind that canvas comes a new sound. It is quiet, almost imperceptible beneath the whimpering of the child and the groans of the wounded. But it is unmistakable. A rhythmic, metallic click-clack-click. Mercer freezes, holding up a fist. Collier stops instantly, his head cocked. They both recognize the sound. It's a telegraph key. Someone is in there, sending a message. Suddenly, the scene in the cavern is cast in a new, more sinister light. This isn't just a hospital, it's a communications hub, a nerve center. The wounded, the civilians, they are merely the unfortunate occupants of a vital military installation. The real heart of this underground complex, the brain of the beast, is still alive, still functioning, still coordinating the battle that rages on the surface above their heads. Collier looks at Mercer, his eyes grim in the reflected beam of the flashlight. He doesn't have to say a word. They both know what they have to do. Taking out that radio operator is more important than capturing 100 wounded soldiers. He is the voice of the enemy, the unseen hand guiding the mortars and machine guns that are slaughtering their friends in the mud and the rain. Slowly, silently, Collier raises his Thompson. He gestures for Mercer to pull back the canvas sheet. Mercer's hand closes around the rough, damp fabric, his knuckles brushing against the cold, unyielding rock. He takes one last look at the terrified civilians, then at the rows of dying men. They have descended into a tomb, only to find that the tomb is still thinking, still fighting, and they are about to try and cut its head off. Mercer takes a shallow, ragged breath and pulls the canvas sheet aside. The immediate world behind it is a stark, claustrophobic shock. The space is no bigger than a supply closet, but its contents make Mercer's blood run cold. Lit by a single bare electric bulb hanging from a wire powered by some unseen generator, is a makeshift command post. A Japanese officer sits hunched over a wireless telegraph set on a small wooden crate, his fingers flying across the key with practiced speed. He wears a clean, pressed uniform that stands in stark contrast to the filth of the soldiers in the outer cavern. His face is lean, intelligent, and etched with intense concentration. Pinned to the rock wall behind him are detailed maps, and standing beside him, rifle at the ready, is a single alert guard. For a fraction of a second, the scene is frozen in a tableau. The two Americans peering in, the two Japanese focused on their vital task. Then, the guard's head snaps up. His eyes widen, not in fear, but in pure, unadulterated rage. He opens his mouth to shout a warning, bringing his Arisaka rifle around. He is too slow. The confined space explodes in a deafening, concussive roar. Collier, without a word of warning, steps past Mercer and unleashes a torrent of fire from his Thompson. The muzzle flash is a blinding strobe light in the tiny room, illuminating everything in a ghastly, flickering glare. The .45 caliber rounds tear through the guard, slamming him against the wall of maps before he can even utter a sound. The officer at the radio reacts with astonishing speed. As his guard collapses, he doesn't surrender or flinch. He shoves the telegraph set off the crate with one hand and with the other, draws a Nambu pistol from a holster at his belt. He is raising it to fire when Collier's second burst catches him square in the chest. The officer is thrown backward off his stool, his pistol clattering to the stone floor. The rhythmic click-clack-click of the telegraph key is replaced by an unnerving silence, broken only by the clatter of hot shell casings hitting the ground and the high-pitched ringing in Mercer's ears. It was over in less than 3 seconds. The small room is now a tomb, thick with the acrid smoke of burnt gunpowder. Collier steps inside, his Thompson still raised, and kicks the Nambu pistol away from the dead officer's outstretched hand. Mercer follows, his flashlight beam cutting through the haze. The two Japanese lie still. The wireless set is a shattered wreck on the floor. The mission is complete. But as the adrenaline begins to subside, a new, more profound sense of dread begins to creep in. Collier moves his flashlight from the bodies to the maps still pinned to the wall. He lets out a low whistle. Mercer steps closer, and his stomach clenches into a tight, cold knot. These aren't maps of Japanese positions. They are American maps. Meticulously, with terrifying accuracy, the officer had been tracking the American advance. Red ink marked the exact locations of the 79th Division's companies, battalion command posts, and even their mortar emplacements. Blue lines traced the supply routes they used every day. They were looking at their own battle plan, seen through the enemy's eyes. This tunnel was not a defensive position. It was the cerebral cortex of the entire sector's defense. From this cramped, hidden hole, this officer had been directing artillery and mortar fire with pinpoint precision, watching the American forces move, anticipating their assaults, and bleeding them for every single yard. Every random shell that had landed perfectly in a trench, every machine gun nest that seemed to open up at just the right moment, it wasn't luck. It was directed from here. Mercer, Collier says, his voice a low, gravelly whisper of awe and horror. He points to a location marked with a red star. That's Battalion HQ. That's where the colonel is. The implication is staggering. They hadn't just stumbled into a hornet's nest. They had stumbled into the spider's parlor, the center of the web, and the spider had been watching their every move. The deafening firefight had surely alerted any other Japanese soldiers deeper in the tunnel complex. They were deep underground, behind enemy lines in a way they had never imagined, holding intelligence that could change the course of the battle for Shuri. But now they were the ones who were trapped. The sound of shouting in Japanese echoes from the main cavern behind them. The wounded soldiers are stirring, and the surrendering medical officer is yelling frantically. The element of surprise is gone. They are no longer the hunters. They are the hunted, trapped in the very heart of the enemy's secret world. The shouts from the hospital cavern grow more frantic, more organized. It's no longer just the panicked cries of the wounded. There are new voices, deeper and harder, barking orders, reinforcements. They must have come from another connecting tunnel. The two soldiers they left on guard are now in a desperate fight for their lives. The brief, sharp report of an M1 Garand echoes from the cavern, followed by a fusillade of answering shots from Japanese Arsaka rifles. The trap has been sprung. Going back the way they came is suicide. "Grab the maps!" Collier barks, his voice cutting through the ringing in Mercer's ears. "All of them!" While Mercer rips the precious, blood-splattered papers from the wall, his hands shaking so badly he almost tears them. Collier is already searching for another way out. He runs his hands along the back wall of the tiny command post, kicking at the rock, searching for any sign of a hidden passage. For a terrible moment, there is nothing but solid limestone. They are in a dead end, a box of their own making. The gunfire outside intensifies. A man screams an American voice, abruptly cut off. "Sarge!" Mercer says, his voice tight with panic, clutching the maps to his chest. I know. Think," Collier snarls, more to himself than to Mercer. He slams his fist against a section of the wall near the floor, where the rock meets the dirt. It gives way with a soft crumble. "Here!" He drops to his knees and begins scrabbling at the opening with his bare hands. It's a bolt hole, a concealed escape route barely 2 feet wide, hidden behind a thin, brittle layer of plastered rock and dirt. It's a tunnel within a tunnel, a testament to the meticulous, paranoid planning of the Japanese defenders. It's their only chance. "In, now!" Collier commands, shoving Mercer toward the black maw. "Your point again." There is no time to hesitate. Mercer shoves the priceless intelligence maps inside his field jacket and crawls into the opening on his hands and knees. The darkness that swallows him is absolute, a physical presence that seems to press in from all sides. The air is stale, dead, tasting of ancient dust and cold stone. He can hear Collier scrambling in right behind him, pulling a loose rock over the opening to conceal their escape. For a few terrifying seconds, the only sounds are their own desperate crawling and the muffled, fading sounds of the firefight in the cavern they left behind. Then even that is gone. They are alone, sealed in the deep, silent earth. This new tunnel is nothing like the main artery they first entered. It is a natural limestone passage, a lava tube or ancient water channel, barely modified by human hands. The floor is uneven, littered with sharp rocks that dig into Mercer's palms and knees. The walls are narrow and confining, scraping against his helmet and pack. He can't use his flashlight. The risk of it being seen from some unknown intersection is too great. They are moving completely blind, guided only by touch. Mercer keeps one hand on the wall, the damp, slick stone his only guide. Time ceases to have meaning. Minutes stretch into what feels like hours. The only rhythm is the sound of their own breathing, Mercer's shallow and rapid. Collier's a low, steady rasp behind him. The complete sensory deprivation is a form of torture. Mercer's mind, starved of input, begins to play tricks on him. He imagines he hears whispers just ahead. He feels the walls closing in, the weight of the millions of tons of rock and mud above him threatening to crush them. He is fighting a war on two fronts now, against the unseen Japanese soldiers who hunt them, and against the rising tide of his own fear. After an eternity of crawling, the tunnel begins to widen. Mercer feels the guiding wall on his left fall away. He stops, his heart pounding. It's an intersection. Which way to go? Left or right? One direction could lead to freedom, the other, deeper into the honeycomb, towards certain death. Collier crawls up beside him. "What is it?" he whispers, his voice unnaturally loud in the profound silence. "Junction," Mercer breathes back. Can't see a thing. They remain motionless, listening. For the first time, a new sound reaches them. It is not the sound of combat. It is faint, distant, but deeply unsettling. It is a low, rhythmic chanting. A chorus of male voices, rising and falling in a mournful, hypnotic cadence. It seems to be coming from the passage to their right. It is a sound of ritual, of ceremony, and in this place, a place of last stands and desperate measures, it can only mean one thing. They have stumbled upon something far more terrifying than a command post. They have found the place where the soldiers are preparing their souls for death. The chanting from the right-hand tunnel is a low, droning hum that seems to vibrate through the very rock. It is the sound of men who have accepted their own deaths. There is no fear in it, only a grim, unwavering finality. For a soldier like Collier, who has spent 3 years fighting this enemy across the Pacific, the sound is more terrifying than a machine gun. It is the sound of an ideology he cannot comprehend, a willingness to die that defies every instinct for self-preservation he possesses. It is the sound of Gyokusai, the shattered jewel, the vow to die to the last man. "We go left," Collier whispers, his voice barely audible. "Quiet as a goddamn mouse." The decision is instant. There is no strategic advantage to be gained by confronting men who are psyching themselves up for annihilation. Mercer nods in the absolute darkness, a useless gesture, and pushes himself forward into the left-hand passage. This tunnel feels different. It is drier, and the air is strangely still. The floor is smoother, as if more frequently traveled. They crawl for what feels like an eternity, the mournful chant fading behind them until it is just a ghost of a sound at the edge of hearing. After about 50 yards, Mercer's outstretched hand touches not rock, but wood. He stops, feeling the texture. It's a crate. He feels around it. There are more. Dozens of them stacked against the tunnel wall. A supply cache. He fumbles with the lid of the nearest one. It's heavy. Ammunition. He moves to the next. Grenades. Boxes upon boxes of Type 97 fragmentation grenades. They have stumbled into a subterranean arsenal, a resupply point for the defenders of the Shuri line. A sliver of light appears ahead. Mercer freezes, every muscle in his body tensing. It's not a flashlight beam. It's a dim, steady glow, seeping from a fissure in the rock wall up ahead. Collier crawls up beside him, and together they inch forward, drawn to the light like moths to a flame. The tunnel ends abruptly in a rockfall, but the light is coming from a narrow vertical crack in the wall to their right, a natural viewing slit looking into an adjacent chamber. Cautiously, Mercer presses his eye to the opening. What he sees steals the air from his lungs. They are looking down into a large, natural cavern, illuminated by several lanterns that cast long, dancing shadows. It is the source of the chanting. 30 or 40 Japanese soldiers are gathered inside, kneeling in neat rows on the stone floor. At the front of the cavern, a grim-faced officer stands before a makeshift altar adorned with a Japanese flag. He is holding a white cloth, and from it, he is distributing something to each man who approaches. Mercer squints, trying to make out what it is. It's a headband, a hachimaki inscribed with a red circle, the meatball sun. But there is something else. As each soldier ties the headband around his forehead, he receives one final item from the officer, a single Type 97 grenade. The soldiers do not attach the grenades to their belts. They hold them, cradling them with a kind of grim reverence, before returning to their place on the floor. This is not a preparation for a counterattack. It is a suicide ceremony. They are witnessing the final moments of a garrison that has chosen self-destruction over the dishonor of surrender. Some of the soldiers are shockingly young, their faces smooth and unlined, now set in masks of stoic resolve. They share sips of sake from a communal bowl passed down the rows. They are saying their goodbyes not to each other, but to the world. Mercer feels a wave of nausea. This is the terrifying secret hidden beneath the island. It is not just a network of tunnels. It is a city of the dead, a place where the living practice the rituals of their own demise. This is the source of the enemy's fanatical resistance, a deeply ingrained belief that this death, here in the mud and rock of Okinawa, is a noble and beautiful thing. Suddenly the chanting stops. An officer with a sword drawn stands and issues a sharp command. As one, the soldiers begin to rise. A new sound fills the chamber, the metallic click of dozens of grenade pins being pulled. They are going to do it right now, but they do not detonate them. Instead, they begin to file towards a large tunnel opening at the far end of the cavern, a tunnel that leads upwards, towards the surface, towards the battle. They are not committing suicide here, in the dark. They are going to use their own bodies as weapons. They are going to run into the American lines, into the trenches and foxholes, and detonate themselves, taking as many of the enemy with them as possible. They are human bombs, fueled by ceremony and fatalism, and they are heading for Mercer's friends. For a long moment, Mercer is paralyzed, his eye pressed to the rock fissure. He is watching a procession of ghosts, men who are already dead in their own minds, marching towards his friends. The maps in his jacket suddenly feel impossibly heavy, a burden of terrible knowledge. That intelligence could win the battle for this ridge, could save hundreds of men in the long run. But what about the men in the trenches right now? The boys he shared sea rations with this morning? They are about to be hit by a wave of living explosives, an attack for which there is no defense. Collier pulls him back from the crevice, his grip like iron on Mercer's shoulder. The sergeant's face is a grim mask in the faint, reflected light. He doesn't need to ask what Mercer saw. He heard it all. The final orders, the sound of movement. He puts his mouth right next to Mercer's ear, his whisper raw and urgent. "How many? 30, maybe 40. Mercer breathes, the words catching in his throat. Collier closes his eyes for a second, doing a kind of brutal battlefield calculus. 40 suicide bombers, against a line already weakened by days of fighting. It would be a massacre. The line would break. The Japanese would retake the ridge. The maps would be useless. The choice is horrifying, but it is not a choice at all. Their duty is here. Now. He looks back at the mountain of crates in the darkness. His eyes, now adjusted to the gloom, have a dangerous glint. "They want to die for their emperor," he whispers, a terrible coldness in his voice. "We're going to help them do it." The plan is insane, born of pure desperation. They aren't demolition experts. They have no fuses, no blasting caps, no wiring. All they have is the enemy's own arsenal and a few standard-issue Zippo lighters. They are going to try and set off a chain reaction, to turn this entire supply tunnel into a gigantic shaped charge aimed at the cavern next door. They have to collapse the exit tunnel, burying the suicide squad under thousands of tons of Okinawan rock. What follows is a frantic, whispered race against the clock. They work in the suffocating darkness, guided only by touch. They become a brutally efficient two-man team. Collier, with his raw strength, begins heaving the heavy ammunition crates, stacking them against the thin rock wall that separates them from the ceremony cavern. Mercer, smaller and more nimble, pries open the grenade boxes. He works by feel, his fingers finding the small metal rings of the pins. With painstaking care, he begins pulling the pins on 24 grenades, his heart pounding with every metallic snick. He knows that a single dropped grenade, a single accidental release of the safety handle, or spoon, will detonate the entire pile and vaporize them both. The sounds from the cavern are their timer. The shuffling footsteps of the last few soldiers, the final sharp commands of the officer. They are almost out of time. "It's gotta be a chain," Collier grunts, his breath coming in ragged bursts as he shoves another crate into place. The grenades have to cook off the ammo. They pile the depinned grenades in the gaps between the crates of rifle cartridges and mortar rounds, creating a series of deadly pockets. The final piece is the trigger. Collier takes a bundle of oil-soaked rags from his pack used for cleaning his Thompson and shoves it deep into a broken crate of grenades, creating a crude, fast-burning fuse. The last of the Japanese soldiers has now left the cavern. The lanterns are being extinguished one by one, plunging the adjacent chamber into darkness. Soon the officers will follow. "That's it. Get ready to run," Collier orders, pulling out his Zippo. The metallic click as he opens the lid is deafening in the silence. He strikes the flint wheel. A small, brave flame flickers to life, casting their sweat-sheen faces in a hellish orange glow. For a second he hesitates, his thumb on the flame. This is it, the point of no return. He is about to either save his company or bury the two of them alive. He shoves the lighter into the oily rags. They catch instantly, the flame roaring to life with a hungry whoosh. "Go!" he screams, the whisper forgotten. They don't run. They crawl, scrambling backward over the loose rock with a desperate animal speed, clawing their way back into the pitch-black labyrinth. They don't dare look back. Behind them, the growing light of the fire is painting the tunnel walls in a flickering, apocalyptic orange. They have maybe 10 seconds. 5 for the grenade fuses, and another 5 before the secondary explosions tear the world apart. They scramble around a bend in the tunnel just as the first grenade goes off with a flat, concussive crump. It is followed instantly by another, and then a deafening, continuous roar as the entire arsenal detonates. The ground heaves beneath them. The air is punched from their lungs. The very rock around them screams as it is torn apart. And a hurricane of pure pressure and sound chases them down the tunnel, threatening to swallow them whole. Thank you for watching.